Alright guys, welcome back to Arcade Bodyshop. It's Jeff hanging out today. We're getting back to the Q-bert. I had a bunch of you guys write me and say, hey, what happened to those Q-berts? Now this was the pretty one. I did a lot of work off camera because this one wasn't that bad. I didn't want to bring you guys through the whole process. The other one, the ugly one, that needs all the work and that's going to be all the tough stuff. So we're going to start on that today. This one's pretty much wrapped up. Got the paint job looking nice and slick. Got the black all done. A couple more tiny little body things in here. I got a little work inside here. And then decals, and this thing's getting wrapped up and going back home to its owner. And then the other one has a lot of water damage. MDF cabs are notorious for water damage, especially around the bottom. This one was missing some of the wood, I guess, cleats that are on the bottom. So one side was leaning down in the water and it soaked it up like a sponge. So we're going to cut probably about 12 inches off the bottom of the side and probably 2 inches off the front. We're going to bust out the biscuit joiner and go ahead and reattach the cab. Then we'll do some Bondo to smooth it all out. We'll also bust out some Craig jig to do some pocket joints in there to pull everything really tight together, glue it all up nice. And then we'll repaint it. The side art on this thing, it looks really good. I think I'm going to mask it off and we'll paint around it and we'll see how it looks. So let's take you outside, we'll walk around the cab and I'll show you some of the damaged areas and we'll go from there. All right, there she is. No, the camera's not tilted. The whole cabinet is tilted. As I said, it's missing one of the wooden cleats on the bottom. And as you can see down here, just from leaning on the one side, you got all that water damage where it went down low. And then if we come around to the side over here, really bad. It's all swollen all the way up. But the rest of the cabinet is actually in really good shape. The artwork, like I said, it looks great. There's a little scrape here, but I mean, that can be touched up. For the most part, I think you hit this with a magic eraser, and then we just mask it off and paint around it. But even the top, you know, a little bit of Bondo work right here. You know, nothing major. The edges are real clean on this. Top and the back look real good. The back down there, we can just hit that with Bondo. That's no big deal there. And there's a couple little slight scrapes and flares on this side that we can just do with Bondo. No need to replace the wood on that. And again on this side, I guess some of the artwork's missing. So we'll probably end up taking it out and just going right back to a straight cab because I know he's going to want this nice. I thought it had perfect side art on both sides, but I was mistaken. So who would just cut off just a tiny little piece like that? I don't know. So we'll go ahead and strip some of the artwork off this as well. Get this all painted and ready to go. I'm not doing the full restoration on this. I'm just getting it ready to go for him. He's got another Qbert that he's going to be transferring the guts out of that one into this nice cabinet when it's done. And then we'll also go ahead and build a new wooden cleat for the bottom so this thing is not just leaning. There you go. Now it's straight. It's leaning pretty bad. So let's get started and we'll lay this down. Got a piece of carpet. You guys got to go to Carpet Thing. You can get carpet samples that are like 3 foot by 4 feet long. Perfect for laying down a cab. So keeps the side all, you know, from getting mashed up with rocks and stuff. So get some of those. We're going to lay it down on the carpet and then we'll go ahead and get started. All right, I got the cab on the side and wow, oh wow, that is swelled out. It's just crumbling. You know, there's really nothing you can do to save this at this point. It's crazy because, you know, original is supposed to be 3/4 of an inch thick. This is almost 2 inches thick. And then looking at this side, this whole back is pretty blown out too. So I think we might end up just cutting a piece for this as well because it all is pretty blown out. And then we have to replace this bottom, or the front part here. So first things first, we want to go ahead and get set up. We got to try to figure out how to do our measurements. And we got to get some of this out of the way because it will throw out our measurements a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and get a chisel and probably chisel some of this off. Over there you go. Yeah, see, this is just separating. Garbage. I don't know why they built these things out of cardboard. Makes no sense. There we go. So we'll get this kind of flattened out. That way we can lay a board down. Because the problem we have is you can't figure out where the bottom is because the whole bottom is missing. But thank God the other side is still okay, where we can pull some measurements off that and get it all figured out. So I'll get set up for that and then we'll start the measurements and then we'll go ahead and cut out all the bad stuff. Now we're getting ready to figure out where to cut for this to come up, and I'm thinking comfortably You know, the damage stops around 10 inches up here. I'm saying go up to about 16. Just give it a good solid side, and you know, get up into some of the meat of the cab. And we know we got nice solid wood up here, so we're going to go ahead and cut out at 16 inches. Problem is, we can't really tell where 16 inches is because the bottom is all missing. So the only way to go ahead and figure that out is to go ahead and get yourself a board. And this is factory cut edge, so I know it's good. And you can see from the inside of the bottom on the other side where it's still good, it's 1 inch relief into the wood. So if I match this to 1 inch and square it up, and then mark up to 16 inches from there, for the plane going overhead. So I know I got 1 inch from the bottom there, and then we go ahead and do it on this side. Make the board 1 inch from the bottom. And that's where the factory edge would have been before the onslaught of swelling. So we got it at 16 inches. Transfer that down to our cabinet. And there we go. So now we got our 2 marks. We can snap a line or use a straight edge, which I'll go grab a straight edge. We'll mark our line, then we'll go ahead and clamp it up and cut it, and then we'll get the new piece cut for this side. Alright, so I actually had to run everything into the garage real quick. It started to rain outside, and that would have made this significantly worse with an MDF cab. But we still got our markers, we got everything set. So what we're going to do is go ahead and draw a line first that we want to cut at. Go ahead and mark that. So this is our line exactly at 16 inches, and then I'm also doing another one 1 inch past that, and I'll show you why in a second. So, we mark the line at 16 and 17. And the key to this is you want a very, very straight edge. And on my saw here, my cordless DeWalt, we're actually going to cut, and it's 1 inch from this outside edge to the blade. And I'm going to go ahead and lock down this guide fence so I can just go straight down the edge of it and have a super, super straight cut that I know is exactly 6 inches wide. So that's what we're going to go ahead and do. Lock this down. And these things are great, man. I got this at Harbor Freight for I don't know. I think with a coupon, I think it was like 14 bucks. And you just slide it like a clamp until you get to the thing. And line up this side. And then we'll line up this side over here. And then you just clamp it down. And we know this is exactly straight now. And the other thing you want to make sure of is your depth. You want to make sure that you're exactly 3/4 of an inch deep on there for your cut. So when I line this up now with the fence, it puts my 0 point right on that 16-inch line. So we'll go ahead and cut it. So now that I cut that exactly at that 16-inch mark, so we can go ahead and unclamp this. We're going to have to get some hammers and pry bars to pull that up. So let me go get some tools and we'll be right back. Alright, I went ahead and grabbed just a soft rubber mallet and just hit it around a little bit. This front edge hangs over a little bit, so we may be able to, there we go. Didn't even need the pry bar. It was all beat up and old. So there we go. Perfect straight cut. We got nice new wood up here to tap into. We'll go ahead and put our biscuit joints in there. I want to take a look at this bottom here and see how bad this is. It is plywood, but we might be able to dry it out and take a look at it. And then this front part is going to have to come off, and that bottom edge on the back. So we're going to go ahead and get that figured out, and we'll get our measurements for this side, cut this new piece. We're going to have to put a little edge in it, or a lot of times what I do is I take these off and then I cut this flat and then just use Kreg jig joints to lock this all together. So that's probably what we'll end up doing. And so we cut this at 16 inches. We'll probably cut the front at maybe 4 inches and probably the back at 6 inches because you want to stagger your seams. So we'll go ahead and I'll take a little more look at this real quick, and we'll figure out our game plan and we'll go from there. Now we opened the can of worms, and I can honestly say I don't feel comfortable leaving this wood in the bottom. So I think we're pretty much only one side of the bottom is what we're going to keep. I'm going to replace this whole bottom wood. I'm going to replace the front piece, the back piece. The other side is good, so we'll build off of that. But yeah, I just don't feel comfortable leaving this. Once you look inside, if you look in the cabinet here, you can see, once I got this off, it is awfully moldy and gooey in there. So I'm going to go ahead and do this right. I can't in good conscience send it out all moldy bottom like that. And I mean, you could clean it, but I mean, if you're going to put the time into replacing 3 sides, might as well replace the bottom. So going to figure it out. We're going to cut the other pieces of the cab real quick. It's going to get a little rickety for a little while, and then we'll get it all pieced back up. So I'm going to get set up for the next cut, and we'll be right there. So I got the front set up. This is where the coin door is and such. And we did exactly the same thing. We measured up. I'm going 4 inches this time. So I drew my line at 4 inches, and then I went an inch past that because I got the 1 inch of my fence on my circular saw. And I could not use the clamp this time because you got this little edge here, and that would have made the clamp go up in the air. So what we did is I got a piece of wood and I clamped it 1 inch, and it will work exactly the same. And you can use those if you got some clamps. You don't need the fancy fence rig or anything from Harbor Freight, the $14 fancy, so to speak. But we're going to do the same to the front, and once we cut the front off, we should be able to pull that bottom off. So let's go ahead and do that cut. And I still got my fence set 3/4 inch deep, like on the last one. And we just go right up next to this wood all the way down, and we should get a nice clean cut. Alright, since we're saving that other side, I can't cut through that. So what I'm going to have to do is get the jigsaw and finish the cut, and then we should be able to pull this up. So I'll get the jigsaw, we'll set that up, and we'll cut the rest of the way, because you don't want to cut through this because we're going to keep this side, and then you'd have to repair all that with Bondo, and it'd be a pain. So we'll get the jigsaw set up, and we'll go ahead and cut through that. Alright, I looked, I didn't have any jigsaw blades that were long enough to get down in here, so as long as you're careful, a Sawzall will work just as fine. I'm using a fine tooth bit on it, and just going to go right through and then just stop right here at the edge. Blade came out at the right time, and then this should lift up. Got most of it. Might have to hammer out this last part. Get it to release. There we go. Save most of the side. They have to do a little Bondo there. And this doesn't look like it's completely cut out. So we'll figure out how to pop that out in a second, but we're mostly there. And then I want to get this bottom to release, which is mostly there too. So once we cut that back part off, we should be able to pop this thing right out and hopefully not mess up this one good side. So that's what we'll do next. Work on the back. All right, now we're on the back, cutting out the last bit of fat MDF. I'm gonna go ahead and I put the fence 1 inch underneath it this time because I'm cutting from the bottom side to go that way so I can stop before I hit the good side. So we're gonna go ahead and cut this now. Be the last side we got to cut. You think this thing's leaned before? Watch it now. That's okay. We'll get her all put back together. So, trying to get this to let go from all that. Let's get our rubber mallet. You gotta be real careful because you don't want to pop out that side. There we go. Got that. And we should be able to pry this gross bottom off now. Loosen it. You just gotta be really careful. We don't want to mess up this last side. There we go. All right, so we went ahead and cut out all the dirty old wood. I did them all at different lengths and heights. So we went ahead and did 6 inches here, we did 4 inches on the front, and we did 16 inches on the other side to make it nice and strong. So what we're going to do is I'll get out the table saw and I'll go ahead and cut these to the exact sizes. I'm not going to let you guys watch me cut wood, that's boring. We'll get to the meat and potatoes and get this thing put back together. Also got to cut off a bottom. The bottom's actually in decent shape, you know, size-wise, so I can get measurements off that to make it exact. So I'll go ahead and do that next. It's actually the next day now. I had to go ahead and get some new wood for the bottom. I didn't have any plywood, but I went ahead and cut all the pieces. So this is the front piece. We cut this at 4 inches, and since we did our nice straight cuts, this fits really good, and you know, we'll have a minimal seam here once we go ahead and do that. I want to take a second to go over all the tools that you're going to need for this. We're going to be doing a combination of biscuit joints. We're using the biscuit joiner, and we're going to use the Craig jig pocket hole. I don't have the fancy, you know, one. I got just the cheap, you know, you hook it up with the clamps, one single deal, and it works fine for everything I do. So it's got that collar on it where it stops it at a certain point, and it will put it at the exact perfect angle for the screws to come in, and we'll do those from the inside going in, so you won't see any of the work on the outside. And we hold those in with 1¼ inch self-tapping coarse Craig tools. We got a square and we got a clamp, and we're going to go ahead and make some lines and get everything lined up to go ahead and cut our biscuit joints. And we'll get this first piece in, and then we'll kind of build around the cab for that, because we still have the other two sides plus the bottom to put in. So we're going to go ahead and get that all glued up and clamped together, and we'll cut the biscuit joints, and then we'll get this thing all slapped back together, hit it with some Bondo, and it's ready for paint. The first step on getting this set up to do the biscuits is go ahead and get your piece. I already marked it top, front, so we know this is the right way that this goes. And you know, you're working with a 30-year-old cab, so it's not going to be as to spec as it originally was. You also got these two pieces from the coin box underneath it. And these actually had like a little mortise joint. I had to cut those off, and then I sanded them down flat so this piece will fit perfectly. There's no need with the Craig screws and all that stuff and the biscuits. You're not going to need this mortise joint anymore. You could cut it if you wanted to. It's just pretty much overkill. If you really wanted to, you could put a Craig jig pocket hole on each inside of this, but I really think it's overkill at this point. It'll be more than strong enough the way we're going to do it. So you get your piece all lined up, nice and flat. Make sure your edge is square over there, and you know we're perfect to the outside edge. And what we're going to do is do a series of lines, and don't forget that you're going to have these two pieces of wood right here, so you can't drill right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to off-center the one biscuit a little bit, and we want to draw a straight line. And this is just to show us where we're going to need to drill our holes for the biscuit. So I think 3 biscuits on this front is going to be plenty enough to hold this on, and just make sure everything stays square. And now I'm going to also put 3 holes, 3 lines for where I want my pocket jigs holes to go. And I'm going to do one of these right in the middle, and what I'll do is I'll do them a little shorter. And you actually don't need to mark those on the cab. Just put a P next to it, doing here. And this is just to line you up so you're not drilling where there's wood. So then we'll go ahead and mark this one. And then we'll go ahead and flip this over. We'll drill the pocket holes first, and then we'll go ahead and start doing the biscuits. Alright, got everything all set up, got batteries all charged. Now we're going to go ahead and take this piece off. Now we want to put our pocket jigs on the inside. I know we marked on here, but that's just as a guide to show us where on the inside we want to do it, so we don't end up hitting wood or anything like that. So this first pocket hole is going to be right there. And the way this jig works is it's super simple. You just line this up with the outside of it. So this is flush with this. Then just get yourself a clamp. They sell their fancy Craig jig clamp. You don't need that, man. Just any clamp will do if you hold it right there. And this is just roughly around the line where we did it. But you just want to make sure that you're squared up. And then we got it. So we're going to go ahead and make our first one. Now this is, it just lines up and it does it at the perfect angle. So you want to start slow to start, just to get it to grab. That's our first one. So that'll be perfect on the inside right there. You won't ever see it. So once we get that there, so once we get the biscuits all in there, the great thing about the Craig stuff is it works like a clamp. Like it'd be really hard to hook a clamp from here down to the top of where the control panel goes. I mean, you could do it, I've done it, but this essentially, once you put that screw in there, it pulls these two pieces together like a clamp, tighter than a clamp. And so that's what we want to do. So we want to go biscuit, Craig jig, pocket jig, biscuit, Craig, biscuit, Craig, and then you got pressure all the way across that's putting it, holding it all in. So I'll go ahead and I'll drill the other 2 holes off camera, and then we'll switch over to the biscuit joiner and we'll start cutting holes for that. Alright guys, sorry for the extra noise. I had to turn the fan on. It was like a billion degrees in here. But anyhow, I got the front piece, and what I did is I went ahead and I cut the pocket holes in it, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to cut the biscuits now opposite of it. While I was doing it, I also put one in the edge as well, because what we'll do is once we get this all locked in nice and square up here, we will go ahead and throw a screw in each side to tie it all in together. So this piece is all good. We can set this out of the way for a second, and we're getting ready to move on now to use the biscuit joiner. Biscuits are fun, man, especially with gravy, as you can tell. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, biscuits are these little wooden wafers, and if you see them, they're kind of textured, and what they do is once you get glue on them, they actually swell up in the joint and make the 2 pieces really adhere to each other really strong. Now you do these things along with the Craig jig screws, I mean it's going to be brand new almost, and then we seam it with Bondo and it will look perfect. So first things first, you got to get your biscuit joiner. I just got a Porter cable one, and we're using number 10 biscuits. So the biscuits actually, each one will have a number on it. These are number 10, so you can go ahead and set your gauge. As you can see right there, it's number 10, and that's how deep it will cut. Because essentially what you're doing is cutting like a half moon. So with this machine, when you use it, you push in on the wood, and you see that little blade that comes out? That little blade cuts, basically a half moon shape into the wood. And so the biscuit will actually sit halfway in the cab and halfway into the new piece of wood. And then it will swell up with the glue and it will bind it together. Got it set for a 3/4 inch. That's what we're going to be using most of the time. Number 10 biscuits is what you'll use a majority of the time too, unless you're working on like a Nintendo cabinet. You might want to use some smaller ones. And it's always good to have a scrap piece of the material that you're doing. You want to do a test cut and just make sure that you're perfectly lined up in the center. So we'll go ahead and do that real quick. Just line up the fence. And it's that simple. So we get the test right there. Looks right in the middle of me. And then your biscuit will fit right in there like that. So you can see, we just made that little half moon cut, and half will stick in here and half will stick in the new piece. So that was why it was important to line up those lines, so we can get these to line up perfectly. And it gives you a little leeway to go left and right. It's not totally exact, but you want to be pretty close. So what we're going to do is go ahead and cut these biscuits in on the lines that we previously set up. And if you look on this, there's actually a guide. There's a center line right here and right here, and we want to go ahead and line that up with those lines. So we'll do that now. We'll go right down the line. Now with this one, I didn't take into account how far the fence is, so it's actually about a 1/4 inch from my other line, which is okay. It's still there in the middle, but you want to mark it there so I can remark the new board to make them line up. So next thing's next. This is the board. Our lines line up. Like I said, the new line is going to be right next to that right there, so I'll mark that to make sure it lines up. And the other thing you want to make sure, absolutely, you cut the top of this, you cut from the top of this. Last thing I want to do is flip this board over, because if my biscuit's not exactly in the center, it's fine if I go as deep as I went on this one. But if it's not exactly in the center, when I do this, it's going to cut that offset this way, and when I flip it back around, it might lift this board up like 1/8 of an inch, and you don't want that. So what you want to do is take the board as is and flip it around, 180 around, do your cuts, and then flip it back around 180. So we're going to go ahead and do that now, cut the other ones. There's one. There's the second one. And the third one's offset a little bit, we remarked it. Alright, so now we got our 3 cuts in there. So what I like to do now is get a test fit, so we'll go ahead and grab 3 biscuits. 1, 2, and as I tried to show you, you got a little leeway. You can go back and forth a little bit in the slot. It's just the depth that really matters. So we'll go ahead and get these. Yep, and they all fit nice and tight. And then this is nice and smooth. So we got a good test fit. What we're gonna do now is we'll get this thing glued up. We'll get the biscuits glued up, and then we'll go ahead and hit it with the Craig screws from the bottom, pull the thing super tight. And then we'll only have this little tiny, if you guys can look here, you're only going to have this little tiny seam to just fade across. So it makes it a lot easier. So just that little seam, we'll do some skim coat of Bondo over it. Once we sand this, it will look brand new and it will have a nice sharp edge, brand new factory. So let's get set up with the glue, and I'll get the Kreg jig screws, and we'll go ahead and get this thing put together. We're all set up, and we're going to get ready to glue this front part, first piece of the puzzle. We're going to get it all hooked together. First thing you want to do is just make sure your edges nice and clean. Make sure there's nothing that's going to get bound up in between. Same thing on your top piece. We got our biscuits in. You want to go ahead and remove those once again, because you want to go ahead and get those nice and buttered up with glue. So wipe that down. The thing I like to do first, it just makes it so much easier, is we'll go ahead and we will just get these hand started, these pocket jig screws. I remember watching a late night commercial for the Kreg jig, and I was like, man, that thing looks so awesome. And literally adding that one little piece, this little thing, and I think you can get it for like 15 bucks at Lowe's. It's just this one single one. And it makes everything so much easier, man. And I sometimes do like woodworking projects with my wife and stuff, and we use it a lot. You know, if I got to fix a cabinet or you know, a dresser or something, it really pulls like drawers back together, and you know, you don't see any part of it. So this is going to be super strong once we get this together. Probably stronger than it came from the factory. So just get those hand tightened in there, and then what we want to do is go ahead and tilt this back up. And wood glue, you can use Elmer's. I use Tight Bond. I use pretty much whatever I have at the particular time. Right now it's Tight Bond, and you want to get a nice even coat of glue. You want it down in the hole on that side, and if it squishes out, I mean, we can always get it cleaned up, you know. Go ahead and get some on to the front of this, the bottom of the coin box, and then you also want to get a little bit on this side too. Squeeze a little in the gaps there. You just want a super seal all the way across. Yeah, it was so funny. Somebody posted this cabinet, and they were going to take it apart and just make wall art out of it. And I saw it, and my buddy Tim saw it, and it was marked as unsalvageable. And I was like, man, I'm up for the challenge if you are. So my buddy Tim bought this cabinet for $100, and I told him I would make it like new for him, and we're halfway there. So what I'm doing now is just essentially buttering the biscuit. I'll go ahead and get that in there. Also, I wanted to tell you guys, a lot of you have been writing me, asking me what I do for a living as a regular job. And, you know, people are asking me if I'm a carpenter or, you know, tradesman of sort. Believe it or not, I'm actually a professional voice actor. I do a lot of commercials and stuff all over the world. I'm in, I think, something like 42 countries, but that's what I do for a regular job. And it was so awesome. When I first started doing arcade repair, I used to listen to Jonathan and Tim on arcade repair tips. And over the years, as I've been doing restores now, they've actually became really good friends, and they're relaunching the podcast, and they asked me to be the new voice on it. So that should be kicking off by the time this video is released. So if you listen to the intro and outro on that, you'll be hearing me. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, no, I'm not a carpenter. I just like to fix things. Now this thing's going to be a little more jammy once we get it in here. And what we can do is get the rubber mallet and just tap it so it's nice and tight. Man, that's a nice seal. Because as soon as you get that glue on there, that biscuit's going to start swelling. And like I said, it's hard to clamp it, but right here we can clamp it because we got this little bit of space. So I'm going to clamp that real tight, and then what I'm going to do is go underneath, and I'll go ahead and get these Kreg screws put in, and we can line these up. What I'm doing is making sure that this is just totally level. don't know if you saw the glue squish out of there, but that's a nice tight bond now. And our next one, it's in here somewhere. There we go. It's right under the clamp. And then we got one more over here. Man, I pulled it tight. You can see the glue all came up here. And I can barely feel the difference transitioning my hand across this now. So with those Craig jigs in there and the biscuit, I mean you're tight. So I could probably lift the cabinet up by that right now, and it's not even dried with the glue yet. So I'm gonna go ahead and let this set for a minute. We'll flip the cabinet on its side, and we'll do the big elephant in the room. We'll do this big chunk that we've cut out. I cut out 16 inches because it was swelled so up on the side. But we're basically going to repeat the same process for that side and then the back. And then what we'll go ahead and do is we'll set the we'll go ahead and set the bottom in. I'm just going to do Craig pocket jigs on the bottom all the way around, and we'll set it in an inch deep, and then we'll go from there. So that's coming up next. Let me let this dry for a little bit, and then we'll flip it. All right, the front has dried for a little while. It's pretty rock solid right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and work on the side. This is the biggie. This was where the major part of the water damage was. It went all the way up the side and stopped probably about 2 inches from here. I just wanted to make sure I was into solid wood, so I took it up a full 16 inches. And then I got this piece already cut, and it should fit. Yep. Nice and flush. Make sure you're square on the front. Yeah. Should be good. A little sanding. It's going to be a little down step from there, but not much. So yeah, that looks good. All right. So essentially, we're doing the same exact thing we were doing last time with the lines. We want to go ahead and set our lines for biscuits. Here, we can do them anywhere we want. I'll probably do 4 on this because it's such a bigger piece, and you don't have to be dead straight on these. Just you want to make sure that you line up in the same area on each one. So we're going to go ahead and go biscuit. Like I said, you don't even really need the square. We'll do biscuits. We'll do biscuits. And we'll do biscuits. Oh, where are the ones? Right here. And then we want to go ahead and do a pocket jig hole real close to the edge. So we'll do pocket, 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 and see if we can squeeze one down here. The other thing too is we're going to need pocket holes to pull in the back. So we're going to need, I'll probably throw 2 down this side, pocket, pocket. And then we also have to do it on this side, but we have to figure out this distance here because it steps out past the cabinet. So we'll do that once we figure out the other side, and we'll go ahead and set up the pocket holes on that. Actually, what you can do is, while it's already here, just reach in the cabinet and draw a line down, and that's exactly where the pocket jig is going to go to set up the holes for that. So we're good to go with that. We're going to go ahead and start by doing the pocket holes. I'll get set up for that, and then we'll go ahead and go through it. We're back. I had to take a second to look at this. I went ahead and got all the pocket holes done, all for the top up here, and got it so it all lines up and everything. And then I went ahead and I drilled a couple in here going up, and I realized that I'd made a bit of a mistake because I was going to do a pocket hole that way, but then once I saw the hole, the way it went, it's not going to do anything. It's just going to go up to the wood. I thought it would go into there, and the only way to do that would be to do a pocket hole from the outside, and we don't want that because it's going to show. So I was thinking about it for a second, and I've never done this before, so this is going to be an adventure for us. What I'm going to do is I'm going to throw biscuits into this front edge here, and then I'm going to straight cut the biscuit holes down here. The only problem with this is it has to be dead exact. So we got to figure this out mathematically, make sure these holes line up exactly with that. And if we can do that, then this should snap right in. And what I'll do is I'll probably put a cleat in here. The thing is, I would do it with Craig jigs, but the only thing I can't do it is because I can't get in here with the coin box that's in there. And to tear the whole coin box out, see, I can't get the angle in here with the drill. You know, if I had a right angle drill, you might be able to, but then you're going to run into the same thing when you're trying to screw it in. So I think if we do the biscuits and then we'll do a cleat, we'll take like a piece of wood and we'll do a cleat here. I think that'll be super, super strong. And then we still have the Craig hole down here on the end that I can pull up through for the new piece. So I think that's the best way to do it. Like I said, I'm not a carpenter either, but I think this would be the best way. So let's get the easy ones out of the way first. Let's go ahead and cut all these holes up here, and then we'll go ahead and then address this side piece, because this has to be dead exact or it's going to knock this off. So let's go ahead and get set up, and we'll go ahead and start knocking out some of these holes. And we'll go ahead and get the plate back down. Yeah, some of this stuff's trial and error, man, because you're not doing anything set in stone. Kind of got to figure it out as you go sometimes, and it's all about what's going to make the strongest cab in the long run. So we got a head, and we got our markings from earlier. Go ahead and line those up, and then we'll zip these out. First one's in. Now we'll take our piece, go ahead and put it up again so we know which is the top. Make sure our lines are all lined up again. Got those biscuits in there, that's why. Pull these back out. Now remember what I told you, like we want to flip this around 180 to cut these holes, because if you flip it like this and that biscuit joins off a little bit, it's going to make that seam stagger, so you don't want that. So what you want to do is you want to keep it exactly, you know, we cut from the top on the actual cabinet, we want to cut from the top on here, and it will be exactly the same. So just flip it around 180, and we'll go ahead and cut on the line. Those four cut. I'll line up exactly with those ones. So we're good there. We got our pocket holes done. We got all the other stuff done. We just got to figure out these biscuits for this front part. It's a little sketchy, but we'll get through it together. So let me figure out the math on that, and then I'll show you how I went about cutting them and stuff. All right, I messed with this for a second, and I think we got it. A lot of you guys wrote me that after I did the episode with my son AJ that you watch it with your kids. Kids, this is why it's good to learn math, because this was a mathematical little thing I had to figure out here. So what I figured is this biscuit, I cut two biscuit joints straight down into the cabinet. So that biscuit is, we want to go from the back side of this groove. So what I did is I held the square up to the actual cabinet, and I could see it was like a 16th less than an inch. So I don't know what that is in 16ths or 32nds. It's a 16th less than an inch to this one and this one. They were the same depth. It's a 16th less. So what I did is I went ahead and marked that on the board here, and then I put a little line here in the middle of them. So then this one is about 3.5, and that one's at 7 3/4. So then I marked those lines here, and that's X marks the spot for these. I went ahead and did a little test first on my scrap, and if you put these biscuits in there, you see that's exactly what I was talking about. Had to measure out these distances and make sure it was right, and then I had to cut the biscuits right on that line, and by doing so we got a nice fit. So I think that's going to work. It's nice and flush up here, which was what I was scared about. So now we have to go ahead and cut them on here. So that's going to be fun, because we got a one-shot deal of this. So let's go ahead and get set up to cut these. Now with this biscuit cutter, you can actually do straight down, or you can do you know, straight in. So, but you have to rotate the fence. So we're gonna go ahead and rotate the fence up, flat, and we want to do it this way so the bottom of the blade is exactly at the bottom of this line. And X marks the spots. So just want to take a minute to take care, make sure that we got everything lined up perfect. Should be good right there. Alright, so that's right straight on the line, which is good. Now we gotta do the second one. You got to be careful, you got to push it down really hard, because the torque of turning it on twists it a little bit. So there we go. Get a lot of dust out of there. Now hopefully, now the biscuits are still in there. Let's go ahead and try it. See what the fit is. And it fits perfect. Awesome. Awesome. All right, we did good on that. So we got biscuit joints here. We're gonna have biscuit, 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 biscuit. Then we'll have the Craig jigs up there, Craig jigs over there, and one Craig jig down here on the bottom on the new piece, and we'll be good to go. So crisis averted on that. So I was kind of freaked out about that, how we were gonna get this all to attach. I will put a cleat on the inside here just to bind everything together while it glues, and it should be super strong. So let me get that on there and get it all set up, and then we'll glue this side and get it all on. All right, what I did here is I went ahead and made a little cleat that will secure to the inside of this cabinet and hold everything in once we get it on. What you want to do is you want to secure it to this piece first, because we won't be able to screw up in because of that coin box. So once we do that, we'll get it all lined up. This is that line I drew from the inside of the cabinet, so I know exactly where it has to go. So we'll throw some glue on it. I got just some of the Craig screws, and then we'll be able to come back once this flips over into the cabinet and screw it into this front panel to pull everything tight. So this should work out really good. So let's go ahead and get some glue on it. And this is just actually one of the pieces that came out of an old cabinet. You know, save those parts, man. You never know when you need them. And these are the original hardwood cleats that were in a cabinet, so it makes sense to use them. So get some little glue on here. Just a little bit. The screws are going to hold it in place. And then just somewhere in the middle, somewhat towards the top, because don't forget we're going to have that Craig jig one that we did cut down here in that new piece. And I did check these won't go all the way through. They're 1.25 inches. Oh, got some torque on there. Alright. Stuck my bit in there. Get this one back a little bit. Make sure it's lined up with that line. close that bit again, but now that's gonna be super tight, and then we'll be able to come back in and screw this into this front panel once we get all glued up. So now it's time. We're gonna get some biscuits in here. I'll get reset up for that, and we'll twist this around and get that whole side on. All right, pretty much set up with everything. What I'm gonna do first is, just like the last time, go ahead and get these pocket screws set in there. That way we're not fiddling with them later. Just go ahead and give them just like a half turn so they'll stick. Some people hate MDF cabs. I don't mind them because if it's brand new MDF, it actually looks pretty good. But when you're dealing with water and moisture, a lot of times these things were in like pizza places. The guy at the end of the night just wants to go home, so he's just splashing mop water up against it. These things weren't, MDF is basically glorified cardboard. So these things weren't meant to be around for, 30 years. We'll make this one brand new. I truly believe that you could save pretty much any cabinet you want if you just put enough time and effort into it. And sometimes it's worth it for people, but they're not making any more Q-berts, so might as well save the ones that we got, right? So there we go, is that. We'll go ahead and tilt this up, and let's get some glue on here. We'll get the biscuits in. So we got glue here. Go ahead and get it down in the holes. Get some across the top. The glue is really what makes the cabinet all solid, because it just bonds the two pieces together and makes it like one. Alright, and then don't forget we gotta get some glue all on here and in these pocket holes that we did. Inside. And back here I didn't do the biscuits because I was able to do the pocket jigs going upwards up into the cabinet. And then we'll go ahead and get a little bit on here and just smooth it with our finger. You get some dripping glue, it's fine, it'll wipe up. Let me look those board roller thing attachments for this. Probably should do that. I'll make a mess. I think we got enough glue on there. So let's go ahead and get the biscuits in here. So everybody's asking me when the real series is going to start, and it is going to start shortly. My first full restore for the show is going to be Pac-Man. Actually, this weekend is the 1-year anniversary when my house flooded, and this is our new house now. But I lost a good majority of my games. They went underwater, and it was just a terrible time for my family. And this was really the arcade community rallied with me, not against me. They rallied up around me, and a lot of friends helped me find games that I lost, and they helped me find games that I lost, and found me replacement cabinets and everything like that. And they just, the kind-heartedness of it, really got to me and my family. And I just decided I wanted to help people do their cabinets and go from there. So I spent the last year restoring my games, and then doing some games for people that might not have the technical skill to do it, or or just learning themselves. So that was the whole basis behind Arcade Bodyshop, and it's crazy. 1 year later, pick up the pieces, got a new big garage full of games, too many games, and I'm doing projects here with you guys. But gonna be starting that Pac-Man as soon as I get these out the door. I just had these for clients, and I had to get these shirt up first. So first episode of that's coming up probably about a week or so. So yeah, I know you guys have been patient. So let's go ahead and get those in. Get everything lined up just right. That was the way to go on that, guys. So we got that all there. good. Alright, so let's go ahead and start zipping some of this together. Probably gonna have to get in the cabinet to do that. So let's get set up and start pulling this all tight. Yeah, that pulled it tight, for sure. What's the next one? It's tricky because you want to kind of push down at the same time to make sure that seam tight over here. That. This is nice and tight here. Tap this down a little bit more on this side. I want to get the top up first, and then make sure that this all lines up. I don't want to beat on the wood itself. You end up dinging it. So get a piece of scrap. That looks good now. Just want to make sure that that all lined up right and correct. So we got that. Now, it looks like this back is pushing out a little bit, so I'm going to have to hold that while I do. Let me go get a clamp, and we'll pull this flat, and then I'll be able to drill that in place. That's one thing you cannot have too many in your arcade supply kit is clamps, especially when you're doing the board with the cabinet work. So this is sticking out about 1/8 of an inch, so I'm just going to tighten it in. There we go. Hold it in nice and flush, and now I can throw these screws up through the side. We've got one more up front here. There we go. Alright, so we should be able to pop this clamp off. And there we go. We got a brand new side. All we got to do is the back, which will be quick and easy. And then put on the bottom. As you can see, I got the jig holes cut. I got some going into the sides. I got the ones going into the top. Went ahead and cut our biscuits out. We're good to go on those. So we're gonna go ahead and get this guy glued up. And this is the last piece to go in. And then we're just gonna secure the bottom. And then this cab should be good to stand up and actually be level for the first time in its, you know, well, not in its life, but in quite some time. So let's go ahead and stand this piece up. Let's get some glue. Glue in the holes. Really happy the way this came out, man. Only one good side though, so You get those cabinets that you don't want to touch, just remember this one. You can fix that one side. It's no big deal, man. You got this. If you need help, man, you can always hit me up. You can hit me up either on the Facebook page, just look for Arcade Bodyshop. You can hit me on my personal Facebook page, or you can email me at arcadebodyshop@gmail.com. A little bit later, I'm actually going to have a website that's going to be launching that will have forums and stuff. Because I want to see some of the stuff you guys are doing too, man. I don't want to just look at my stuff. I want to see what you guys are doing, especially if I inspire you on anything. Also, man, make sure you go see some of our cool sponsors. Paradise Arcade Shop, Brian over there, he's amazing. We're going to do some cool stuff with him coming up in the next couple weeks. My buddy Ken at Golden Age Arcade Parts, he does those awesome replacement harnesses. Player's Choice here in Myrtle Beach, awesome store, man. They got all sorts of console gaming, and he's got like basically a full arcade in his store. They're awesome sponsors of me locally here, and I'm going to be doing a cool restore for my buddy Adam, who owns the store. Going to be doing a Crazy Climber coming up, so that's going to be really cool. We're going to re-stencil the whole cabinet and some other stuff. So we got some really great stuff coming up in the next year, I guess. We got some cool announcements I'm going to be doing here soon on some of the builds, and going to be doing some out of this world stuff you haven't seen before. So this is just the beginning, guys. We haven't even really got started yet. So let's go ahead and get this tapped in. This last final piece. This one's a tight fit, so we're gonna have to be a little persuasive. But you gotta do it with care on MDF. Oh, we went too far. Get it lined up. I wanted to make sure this was a nice, tight, square fit. There's a couple little things tying me up over here on this side. We have to clamp this in. It looks pretty good though. Tap a little more. Not enough. Let's get that scrap piece. There we go. We're almost there. You know what we probably could do is throw a couple clamps on it, because we got that area up top. Like I said, on the back of the front is kind of easier because you can use the coin door areas, but on the rest of them it's a little tougher. We'll get the big boy clamps. Look at these guys, huh? Some heavy duty stuff. We'll go ahead and pull it in until, yeah, there we go. That pulled it in nice. Go ahead and at least get this top part screwed in. Just want to lift up. Get this top part screwed in. And then we'll come back. It's got a lot of tension on it. Let's ease the tension a little bit. This is wanting to wing up. All right, let's get a couple screws in here. There we go. Lost my bit and my hat. Alright, let's get on the next one. Sometimes you wish you had 3 hands. finish now. Let's go ahead and flip this clamp over this way. Give me some room. I think we lose the clamps now. And got one more screw to do right here. Let me rotate a little bit, I can't see it. Make sure it's nice and flat. I want to strip it out. Battery pack. Grab another battery. There we go, I grabbed the battery. Found the bit. Pulled it in nice. Nice and tight there. And we got this one last corner. You know what? I think we'll lift it up and we'll clamp it and pull it flat. Make sure we get a nice tight fit. Keep everything square. Down. Square it up. All right. You're going to leave that clamp there for a second, let it hold, and then we'll go ahead and get this bottom piece in, and then we'll stand it up. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and put in the bottom. Last thing I did was I did the pocket hole jigs for these, and what we're going to do is get this set in there. We want to make sure we're flat. Look at a couple of cleats that are in there. That's all set. What I want to do is I want to go ahead and clamp the sides just to make sure I got a nice tight fit. There we go. So that cap is nice and snug. Now let's go ahead and do one up and bottom too. Just making sure the bottom is nice and tight against there. And then we'll go ahead and put these pocket screws in. Well guys, we've done it! Qbert is standing on its own. It's got fresh new sides, fresh new front, fresh new back, brand new bottom. It was a haul, man. We had to do it. We did biscuits, we did Craig jig, we did glue, we put it together, and it came out amazing. I know you guys can't see the bottom, so I'll come get you. We'll bring you along for the ride, and we'll go through real quick. Sorry that last part cut off. I just really assembled the bottom and then added the two pieces of wood on the bottom like the original. But there's our front, nice and smooth. This side all matches up. We just got to do the Bondo on the seam. Got nice sharp edges. Go around to the back. Take a look at the back. Got the brand new piece at the bottom. Nice smooth seam, dude. Oh my God, this is gonna be so easy to Bondo. And then we got the brand new, I used pressure treated wood in the bottom. So this thing is standing tall and looking pretty. There's the other one. There's the other one. And look, looks so nice and smooth. And this one now is gonna match it. Like I said, this thing was wall art. It was gonna die, and we saved it. So that's it for this episode. We're gonna come back next time. We're gonna go ahead and do the Bondo, the sanding, the paint. Till then, keep it locked right here. Arcade Body Shop got some great stuff coming toward you.